Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another special report. This is a new YouTube channel for me. I have a subscribe button on the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share. Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date 9/11/2022, episode 395, Antichrist Bloodline. So some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, N Veniamin interview of Alan Fontaine, Blessed to Teach on Beforeitsnews, an interview by David Nino Rodriquez of 107, Megan Rose, plus. Okay, and that would include Gene Decode, Cliff High, others. Okay, I have a Patriot subscriber. London Bridge, the Queen is dead. The Alliance is moving to Nasara Jassara. Patriot subscriber. The Queen actually died December 5, 2018. Yeah, she actually passed a few years ago. And 107 came out with a recent interview by David Nino Rodriquez, just a short bit, and said that, yes, the Queen did pass away a few years ago, and the deep state used that event to then make the announcement for her death so they could plan it right now for some kind of big meeting for the deep state. So it's like a cover story, and that's why they put it out right now. But we also know from the first 17th letter drop, and then you add 1776 to it, it comes out to September 8th, which is when her death was announced. So we have multiple things going on. I have a Patriot subscriber who had a question about Nimrod. Now, Nimrod was early in the Bible, Genesis, or that next chapter. He was in out of Noah's bloodline, and in the Bible it said Nimrod became a Nephilim. Well, just until recently did we understand about genetic manipulation. But Nimrod then has the DNA and the knowledge and about the technology. And my Patriot subscriber said, well, how does that relate to the Sphinx? And it relates to technology that's underneath the Sphinx. And she wanted to know who was bringing out this information, and that came from Israeli News Live's Dino Ben-Nun, formerly with the CIA, now as a ministry, but gets regular updates from the Pentagon. And his information about the U.S. military obtaining the body of Nimrod from Iraq and then trying to resurrect it and put in a spirit that was somehow came through a portal when CERN was under the control of the deep state and said it was Nimrod. So all that's going on. All right. I have a Patriot subscriber who says the royals equal lizards. That's accurate. I have a Patriot subscriber, reptilians. I have a Patriot subscriber who says, yes, the Knights of Malta were recently disbanded at the Vatican, and that's another temporal marker for us moving into Nasara Jassara, President Trump returning. Yeah, a lot. I have a Patriot subscriber who says Prince William has had a chip in his head for years. I have a Patriot subscriber who says William came out of the 13 bloodlines from Cain. I'll cover that for you. I have a Patriot subscriber who says Princess Di's job was as a breeder, and her royal bloodline is Nephilim. I'll cover that too. Okay, I have a Patriot subscriber. There was a source that William equals the Antichrist. Okay. I have a Patriot subscriber who says William, will I am. That was in how Princess Di referred to him in her diary. And in her diary, she says that the sperm from Charles was actually implanted into her, and there was an elite ceremony that went on similar to Rosemary's Baby. Now that correlates, this implanting of the sperm correlates to multiple sources, and who quoted Diana after their divorce, saying that the marriage was never really consummated, that she was implanted. Okay. I have a Patriot subscriber who says, this King line, he's talking about King Charles being involved with the deep state, and the deep Charles was involved in that plan. That was the attempted assassination of President Trump and a Saudi prince, bin Salman, I believe, a few years ago in Las Vegas, maybe 2018, 2019. Now, Peter the Insider, the director of the 12th Division of the ACIO, Alien Contact Intel Organization, that we now know as a division of the U.S. government, NSA, also brought out that information several years ago, that that was an assassination attempt. Okay. All right, I have a Patriot subscriber from England who says she woke up a few years ago. She's not mourning for the Queen. And and she's saying they have to endure 10 days of mourning. Yeah, all right. I have another Patriot subscriber from England who's saying, she believes the Queen was reptilian. That's accurate. Okay. Now I'll get into putting things together, and we can see that that's a possibility of the Antichrist bloodline. Now, I just don't think it's William. I think it's coming from that line. So, I'll put this together for you. Okay, in the Bible, Genesis chapter 6, it's talking about the fallen angels mating with human wives. They made the Nephilim. And then Gene Decode. So Gene Decode has about 25 years experience as a nuclear subs engineer. Also in 1992 had a half-hour face-to-face with God and knows a lot of stuff. I had another Patriot subscriber who had a face-to-face with God in 1986 for 20 minutes, and she substantiates information Gene brings out, as do I, from things that God had given me when I was young, that then Gene came along to corroborate. So, so Gene Decode. And so, what he was saying was the royal lines, and that's all over the earth, have been taken out. And these are the natural birthright lines thousands of years ago by the Nephilim and the fallen angels, plus there are other evil and corrupt and non-terrestrial species. Besides the fallen angels. So, now, some of their traits that they can do, they can, the hybrids, they can shapeshift. And the curious thing I had was, we know when God creates a human, we have our body comes from, God chooses our genetic line. And then the soul part is our mind, our emotions, our will. And this is the part we're responsible for developing. And then God also puts in His Spirit. This gives life to the human body. So we're also created in a triplicate, mirroring God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit in three parts. So we have a physical body, a soul, and a spirit. The Nephilim, the hybrids, are not born from God. Therefore, they have no spirit. And then to get energy, they consume humans. Took me a while to figure that out. Now, Alex Collier, who gets information from the Andromedans, said that, gave this example. They had come across the Alpha Draco Gray reptilian, evil species who consume humans. Alright, so, and enslave us and sell us into slavery and do other things. Okay. So Alex Collier said his information from the Andromedans was, and he was on an Andromedan ship when, and they showed Alex this, that there was a gray ship, off world. Here's Earth, it's out in space, and it had millions of pods, and inside the pods were humans in stasis. And it's reminiscent of a scene that we would see from The Matrix, where you have all these pods and tubes hooked up and human-like bodies. Okay. And they were in stasis, meaning not conscious. And they were used as a food source for multiple species. And it wasn't the consuming of the bodies. It's that the humans, even in stasis, generate energy. And then this energy could somehow be collected and sold and used as food. So, yeah. Now, so that means that all royals, as far as I know, all over the earth, royals currently on earth, are Nephilim. Now, and so, yeah, Gene Dakota brought this out that thousands of years ago, this Nephilim replaced the natural bloodlines. Yeah. All right. Now, Megan Rose has information from Redneck and the Galactic Federation of Worlds that the Queen was reptilian, and out of this line will come the Antichrist and the deep state, and the bloodlines orchestrated the assassination of President JFK. That's true, and Redneck was just saying that his contact with the ETs began in the 50s and 60s during the presidential reign of presidential time of President Eisenhower. The reptilians are tall, they smell bad, they can shape-shift. Now, this is coming out that the Galactic Federation of Worlds have off-world ships, and they're working with the Navy, Special Forces, and they have ETs that includes royals, and they are in pods, and they are in stasis, not conscious. And what they're doing with them is they are extracting information from their consciousness that then enables the Alliance and the Galactic Federation of Worlds to connect to the AI system on Earth that the deep state is using and take out the deep state. Now, Megan Rose is bringing this out. This is more information about the Queen. And that includes William and other groups. Okay, the Queen, reptilian, and then I've gone over that they consume humans. But they regularly had hunts where they would hunt young humans on their horses and with their dogs. And this often took place in Canada and along the border of Canada and the US. And I've had multiple First Nation contacts verify that this happened, that they would have so many out of their tribe. And in Canada, what they did, the evil and corrupt government, and we knew the Trudeau line comes out of the deep state, with the father being Fidel Castro. He's part of the deep state, yeah. They had these hunts. And what they would do, they would go on the First Nation reservations, pick up all these children, put them in orphanages, and it was easy then to put them in the hunts and no paper, or just make up bogus paperwork or whatever. Okay, Bucking and Redneck, from a message from the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Yeah, the Buckingham Palace has been empty for years, as has Washington, D.C. Charles is a hybrid Nephilim. The deep state worships Satan. Yeah, okay. So now, Antichrist comes out of King Charles III's line. And I put up that recent video where Mike from around the world, who's regularly on Pastor Paul Bege's Thursday night show, and We Believe works for the NSA, works for the government, came out immediately that same day that the Queen's death was announced, and said, King Charles is not the Antichrist, but it is coming out of his line. All right. Mike from around the world says it's the Antichrist line, as just 107. All right. Now, N Veniamin interviewed Alan Fontaine. So this is Nick V. and Fontaine, who has CIA contacts. Okay. And he's saying that, the bloodlines are, Nephilim. This is the Antichrist bloodline. And they consume young humans. Now, Cliff High is saying, as is Rick with Blessed to Teach on a recent interview on Beforeitsnews. So Cliff High and Rick, before Blessed to Teach, both say Charles's reign will be short. Okay. So now we have this. Right. And so I'll explain this. Okay, so we have Princess Di. We have Prince Charles. we had the original 13 bloodlines. Now let's be clear, I brought this up before in previous videos. Out of the bloodlines comes President Trump, comes Princess Di, comes JFK, the Kennedy family, and others. Alright, so I'll explain this. So we have fallen angels, they mate with humans. Okay, the book of Deuteronomy, I believe that's chapter 17, brings this out. These are going to be bastards until the 10th generation. And I have interpreted this via God, that in the 11th generation, if there's no other infusion of the fallen angel, in other words, you have matings, you have fallen angels and humans, it makes a hybrid. And then they're always mating with humans. And this goes on for 10 generations with no other infusion of the fallen angel bloodline. I believe in the 11th generation, then the individual is fully human. So I believe that came about with Princess Diana, with President Trump, with President Kennedy, and others. Now, Gene Decode has brought this out about the current population on the earth, and I use the figure 10 billion, just makes calculations easier. And there's some basis for this. Trey Smith, a Christian author with a math background, says that 7 to 8 billion just doesn't stack up with his math calculations. So I'm going to use 10 billion. So Gene Decode says 70% are not fully human. So that's about 7 billion. 30% are fully human. So that's about 3 billion. So we see we have multiple sources for this. And it's just taken me a while, but I've finally figured out we have like four categories of beings on earth. Okay, so now, blessed to teach Rick the 13 bloodlines were fulfilled in the mating between Charles and Princess Diana. That, in other words, he had like 6 or 7, and she had 6 or 7, and it turned out to be 13. Now, right, they had a ceremony during the mating process. Okay. So blessed to teach Rick says King Charles III is not going to be king for very long. Okay. Right. I got that. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. And Gene Decode also says this. So now we have some individuals believing that William is the Antichrist. I'm not persuaded of that because of the timeline that we're on. I believe we're in harvest, and that our time is going on for decades. I believe that William is part of the line, as I've said earlier. And also, Gene Decode brought this out. If an individual is 52% human, they can go into the med beds that are coming and have their DNA fully restored to being fully human. So that concludes my special report on the Antichrist I do believe, and based on all these sources that are coming out, and I had a lot of Patriot subscriber response to that, I believe that it's coming out of that line, but I believe it's still decades away. So, I love you, and I'll see you soon.